Welcome to the episode 1 of BDSM Pod, where we talk about branding, design, strategy, and marketing. And today, we're with the man, the myth, the legend, Anti-Profit. The title of this episode is Anti-Profit Unmasked: Politics, Propaganda, and the Death of Personal Branding. Sounds juicy. No?
Yeah, very, very good title there. Well done.
Okay, without further ado, I want to start throwing you some juicy questions. Number one is, so you wear a mask. Is that a brand strategy or a safety or whatever is the purpose?
Yeah, good question. The reason I wore a mask to begin with was actually just a matter of practicality. I was managing another content creator's like really big brand, and it was the type of thing where I knew that this person would not want me to be posting about the stuff that I post about while also representing his brand. So I needed to figure out a way to actually post anonymously.
Okay.
So I ended up going in the direction of a mask. So it really was a matter of practicality. But the other thing that was interesting is when I posted online, I would test the exact same scripts with the exact same video, where I would wear a mask and where I wouldn't wear a mask. And the videos where I was wearing a mask would get 11,000 views, and the videos where I would be wearing no mask would get 200 views. So
That's crazy. So, visibility also equates with how you present yourself in front of the camera, kinda. People love a bit of mystery.
yeah, it seems to be that way. And I think on top of that, just when you're scrolling, you come across like how many faces on social media at any given point of the day. But when you come across my mask, you tend to kind of stop and be like, oh, what is that? At least for a second.
Yep, it's giving V for Vendetta vibes. Because in our current creator economy, there's a lot of faceless accounts. So I want to know, how can someone showcase their talent without showing their face, just like what you do?
Well, I think right now we kind of live in the age of AI avatars. I've been doing a lot of thinking about, people who, if they were to really go out of their way, they could open up, 18, 50, 100 different accounts with different AI avatars that, have different ethnicities, different age ranges, different genders, different languages. And really all you have to do there is put out some political messaging and set that political messaging up so that it goes out to each of those different demographics, each of those different accounts. And you're really in a place where you're able to test a lot of political or cultural messaging across a lot of different cultural demographics. So, I mean, if you're really looking to go big, that's a way that I've been thinking. People will, if they're not already doing it, will end up spreading political information online. If you're wanting to do something a little bit smaller, a mask is always useful. Or again, just building your own AI avatar using a platform like HeyGen, or going in the direction of a faceless meme page on X. There are a lot of different ways to do to do it. It just depends on kind of what your goals are and how big you're looking to go as well.
It kind of reminds me of the Money Heist, like Netflix series, where they're hiding behind a mask, but people want to be part of the propaganda, like the bigger revolutionary movement. And I think you're kind of leading in this space.
Well, thank you. With the money heist thing, I'm not entirely sure because I haven't seen it. But yeah, I think my psychology regarding anti-profit and what it is that I do has changed a lot over the last couple of years. When I first started to like really blow up, I mean, obviously, like you start to get followers on social media and you're like, oh, damn, this is so cool. Like, I'm obviously doing something right. But I think as time has gone on, I've realized that it's not so much I'm doing something right or I'm like sharing opinions that are, necessarily even truthful. It's just I found a community of people who happen to espouse my views. And over time, I've had to do some, real thinking about whether or not, I want to be associated with some of the ideas that I was posting online a couple of years ago, just because me as a person, I've changed. But the algorithm is funny because when you set up an audience for yourself, I've found that it's really difficult to take that audience in a completely different direction because, people follow people in order to get their worldview mirrored back to them. And once the creator no longer mirrors that worldview, then, we live in an economy of selection. So if you don't like what one guy's saying, you'll basically just go and watch someone else.
That's true. Actually, I guess my next question is kind of connected to that. Like, do you think if you would reveal the face behind the mask today, everything will change in your branding?
I mean, certainly it would change in my branding. I don't know if I would ever do that for anti-profit, though. It wouldn't really serve any sort of purpose unless I just needed some shock factor in order to like
Mhm.
revive my brand, which is not what I need. There is always a possibility. In fact, it's not even a possibility. If you can find me online, I encourage you to go and try and find me. But I'm starting a regular personal brand with my actual name because I'm wanting to do more work in the realm of like business, content creation, consulting, that type of thing. And I don't know, it may just be time for me to pivot into an additional venture on top of what I'm doing with Anti-Profit.
That's something to look forward to, content creators. You heard it first here. So you also always give like spicy comments or opinions about American politics. I have a curious question. Do you think creators are more powerful now than politicians in influencing people?
Certainly when it comes to influencing people, yes. Most people have no idea who like their politician in their local state is back in the US. I'm sure the same is very true throughout like Southeast Asia as well. People follow people online that they see over and over and over again. Now, there are a couple of politicians that have really strong personal brands, but these people are as much creators at this point as they are politicians. The politicians that are doing best are those who master content creation. And, it'll be really interesting to see what happens. And I think Trump is probably the first example of this, but it'll be really interesting to see what happens when creators master politics. He's kind of the first to really like do that in a very real way.
I think Elon Musk is also kind of pivoting now to being seen more lately in politics, no?
Yeah, for sure. And, ultimately, Elon Musk, aside from Trump, probably has one of the biggest personal brands in the world. And on top of that, he controls one of the largest social platforms in the world. And I think, people have really understood for a long, long time now that if you control the flow of information, you control the narrative. And with this type of thing, the social media platforms are the new, controllers of narrative. It's no longer the newspapers.
That's true. I worked in Meta, and then one thing that I realized after working with that is like I kind of stopped being argumentative online. I think on my early 20s, I'm kind of a menace to society. Every time like I have strong opinions about politics, I kind of really like go after people who would go against it. But one thing that I learned with algorithm is whatever you usually like click or engage with, it's gonna fire you more. So if you're pro Trump, you're more likely gonna be in the brain rot, algorithm. And not unless you do subconscious choice to create a new account and see a different perspective, but which I think less likely not all people do.
Yeah, that takes a lot of personal self-control and a lot of self-awareness, which just frankly most people don't have. And most people want to go onto social media in order to be hypnotized by their algorithms because life has gotten so difficult that they need some sort of reprieve throughout the day. And fair enough, like life is difficult. Modernity has put us in a place where like reality is more complicated than it's certainly ever been over the last like couple hundred years. And like society's changing a lot. So people are really, really stressed out and they're looking for coping mechanisms. And the algorithm is one of the best coping mechanisms ever created because it can tell when you're feeling insecure about yourself so that, it's like, oh, this person's feeling insecure. Let's put some makeup
Okay.
content in front of them so that they like feel better and potentially buy products. If you're someone who's nervous about money, and trying to make more of it. It knows to put, kind of lifestyle influencer slop that promises you a quick escape out of your financial situation in front of you because again, it knows that you'll watch it and it knows that you might even buy a course, which helps their customers, which helps them. So it's, it takes a lot of self-awareness and a lot of thinking around the topic of digital sobriety in order to really make that happen. But I think most people are not in a place to really even have that conversation because they don't even view the algorithm as a problem.
True. Yeah. Having that said, this is kind of controversial, but I want to know if do you think creators right now are a part of a bigger online propaganda? Are you affiliated with any propaganda or all of your views that you say to your channel are your personal opinions and your personal takes?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think, all the way through me posting for Anti-Profit, it's been genuinely what it is that I think at that given point. Now, I think the thing that's worth saying is like my views have changed a lot. And the thing that happens with influencers is, again, when they become like hugely relevant online, there's something that happens psychologically in the back of your head where you start to give your audience what it is that you subconsciously know that they want, because you know that if you don't, the views will dry up and the money will dry up as well. So this is something that a couple of people are calling algorithmic drift in terms of like political stance. And this is something that I definitely fell prey to myself. Like I found myself last year, like starting to really espouse some like pretty dark stuff online, because subconsciously is just you get into this place where your audience is saying, hey, give us more of this, give us more of this, give us more of this. And the money is coming from them wanting that thing. You just start, changing a little bit in order to kind of satisfy that demand, because if you don't, your livelihood is at stake. So this isn't an excuse on my end. I look back at a number of my videos and I just cringe looking at them because they're cringe. But the thing with propaganda as a word, the thing to always keep in mind with information online, because everyone likes to call all information propaganda, and I actually don't view it that way. Propaganda is specifically content that is put out in order to get people watching that message to stop using their critical thinking skills and just absorb the message. That's propaganda. If you're putting out content that really, tries to give a fair shake to both sides, that you are actively trying to engage people's critical facilities in their mind, so that they can make a decision about whatever's happening in the world themselves, that to me is not propaganda, because you're not sitting there trying to emotionally manipulate them into what to think in order to make more sales on the back end.
Critical thinking is, I think, a big thing, and not everyone has it. They said common sense is not common nowadays. So I guess for creators who like you, that you mentioned that you also see yourself that you're starting to become like a puppet of your followers, that whatever they want to see, you're doing it. I know some creators who became big because they were on a certain niche, and then now they kind of outgrew it and they want to pivot to a new one. What would you advise them and how would they start over?
Just completely start over. Look, I think ultimately, I'll say two things. The first is, just because you've built a large digital asset, it does not mean that you can't build another one. If you've already built something big, you have the organizational capacity and the workflows in order to pump out just as much content as you're doing with your old thing that you've outgrown into something new. And with the algorithm, at least in 2025, the whole name of the game is just quantity, is just volume. If you can test a whole bunch of different creatives on any given week, and then just double down on the things that work, and figure out whether or not you're going online in order to get more fame, or to be more influential, or to drive sales. Those are two very different things when it comes to organic content. But being clear on your goal there, it tells you exactly what type of content to make, because maybe with this new brand that you're putting energy into, you like the videos that get you 100,000 views are the ones that drive less sales than certain videos that get you like 10,000 views, just because you're talking to the right people, right? So again, just be cool with the fact that you have the organizational capacity to move into something else if you want to. And there was something else, but I don't remember what it was.
I kind of think about the saying that a friend to all is a friend to none. It also applies to social media, that if you're talking to everyone, you're not gonna more likely to convert. So don't aim for virality, aim for visibility.
Yeah, 100%. That actually, you reminded me exactly what I was going to say. The big thing that I'm kind of working with clients right now is this idea of embracing anti-virality. You don't want virality, because if you're actually working on something that is being put out into the world in order to attract like top A players, the thing that you need to keep in mind is that the world is not primarily comprised of A players. So as a result of that, if you are trying to create a message for the masses, which you can do, plenty of B2C companies are built by, catering to the masses. But if you're like a business owner or a legacy founder who's really trying to like build a personal brand online, or build any sort of brand online, and you're looking to do it because you have civilizational intent, you are ultimately going to be having much fewer conversations, but much higher impact conversations. So like, again, this idea of antivirality, I would rather a client get 1,000 views per video consistently over the course of a year, but those videos hit the right 1,000 people 4, 5 times a day, day in, day out, because that's the way that you get invited into the rooms that you know that you deserve to be in. Whereas just open virality really just lets in the riffraff and the masses, and that doesn't really do much unless you're Elon Musk and you're really trying to push propaganda in order to sway elections.
That's true. It's really like asset stacking, like you gotta think of your content as like different doorways for your ideal audience to find you. That's why you gotta put like different angles on that one. I myself is guilty of it because I am starting my YouTube channel, my personal brand, and then one thing that I realize is I am not getting the views higher, but I am getting the right people I want to attract, like my freelancers, marketers, agency owners, which are my target audience. And I think it's like, okay, this works.
You're not trying to get BDSM enthusiasts?
Maybe after this, if they see this, you're free to join. Yeah. So that's like what I observed, that I am kind of attracting like a lot of agency owners like following me. It's slow growth, but the views may not be there, but I know that it's gonna be like a gold mine if I started to launch like a newsletter, lead magnet on it. So what's your like suggested strategy for beginners like me?
Again, volume more than anything else. The more content you can put out on a daily basis, even if you're getting like 500 views on the videos, even if you're getting 80 views on the videos, this is the number one way that you can figure out what resonates best with your niche. And again, you got to go into this knowing what you're optimizing for on the back end. If you're optimizing for conversations with potential clients in the DMs, you're going to have a good understanding of what kind of video drives that, as opposed to what types of videos drive a lot of engagement but no DMs, simply by putting out a lot of content and looking out at all of the data points across all of your social medias where you're posting. Ideally, if you're making a video, it's not just going out on Instagram. It's going out on TikTok. It's going out on Instagram. It's going out on YouTube Shorts. It's going out on Facebook. Yeah, if you make the video, it takes you like an additional like 2 minutes to like post it to another channel, right? So it's if you go in with volume, you just get a lot more data than anyone else in the beginning stages, and the beginning stages is when everyone burns out.
I want to support this claim technically because I realized that a lot of content creators, they're still performing for their friends. A lot of them, oh, my cousin, my friend is following me on Instagram. They would find me embarrassing. And I think I need them to be reminded that if you want to make sale, you cannot create curated content for your friends, because more likely they're not going to buy from you because they may be working in a different niche, a different field, or they might have some referral for you if you become hyper specific on your expertise.
Yeah, 100%. Ultimately, the thing that I kind of always say is, if in order to be great, you got to be willing to be cringe at the beginning. It's just like, if anyone wants to, and you can do this too, you can go back to the beginning of my Instagram. It'll take you a while to scroll back. But bro, the videos that I posted at the beginning are like beyond cringe. I'm like over in Pepitos, like walking around with like girly, like trending sounds, like picking up groceries. That's like, I had faith in me. I'd never gave up, like blah, 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 blah. Like it was so bad. I wanted to kill myself, but yeah.
As I say, cringe pays the bills. Like I think every creator should wear this as a merch. Maybe we should launch this soon, but this is really like cringe is just like that means you're in motion, like that means you're trying to conquer something. And one thing that I realized after the 8th, 10th video, the cringe become lesser and lesser. I became more like hit play, whatever I look like.
Yeah, no, it's just a matter of showing up and doing it. And also just having the data to see what works and what doesn't. The only reason I was trying cringe stuff out at the beginning is because I didn't really know where to start. But by just posting like 10, 15 videos of cringe, I was like, okay, I don't want to do that. And that just gave me the data that I needed in order to move forward.
So recently we have a lot of layoffs, right? In FANG, in tech companies. I guess this message goes to people who's trying to rebuild things. Do you think the system is broken that they need to continue sticking with it, like finding a job that's still connected to their previous like expertise, or do they have to build outside it and start becoming like a content creator, for example?
Well, I guess I'll say this. Some people really need the structure that a job provides. If they exist out of the day-to-day structure that their career like 9 to 5 gives them, they'll fall apart. And that doesn't make them worse than other people. That doesn't make them dumber than other people. It's just some people need structure, and some people thrive in being able to kind of create their own path. I would say that, when my life fell apart and I really, just lost my job because I was a violinist back in 2020 and there were no gigs because of COVID, I had a lot of time on my hands and I had two options. Either I could continue, practicing the violin so that like when gigs come back in a year, like I got more gigs, I guess, or I just fill the time with learning a new skill. So what I took up was digital marketing. And as a result of everything that went in there, I ended up pivoting completely into what it is that I do now. Instead of living in Salt Lake City, I'm now living in Bali. There are real gains to be had. And even if you pick up a side hustle or a side skill while you are in a place where you're not going to an office 9 to 5, you're never going to regret picking up additional information, especially if that information makes you more dangerous in the marketplace for when you potentially re-enter the job market or just pivot into something that you want to do solo.
I want to inspire in connection to that. I want to inspire like our viewers right now. Can you give us like, I know this is confidential, like a glimpse on how much could they potentially earn in like either doing marketing or doing content creation in just like your YouTube salary or AdSense or potential brand deals?
Sure. I mean, this is completely dependent on location. So like if you were in the US and you are a shorts creator, you're generally making around like somewhere between 4 and 10 cents per 1,000 views. If you are, depending on regular AdSense from regular long form videos, you're getting anywhere between, I'd say like $2 up to like $30 per 1,000 views, just depending on your niche. Yeah, no, it's if you're more in the realm of like finance content, it's the type of thing where hold on, if you're more in the realm of finance content, then again, you're getting like $30 per 1,000 views or so. And if you're like one of the big like finance bros on YouTube, that's a real living. But yeah, if you're completely dependent on AdSense, you're going to be kind of hosed, and that gets worse and worse the farther outside of Western industrial countries you get. In a country like Indonesia, for example, like the AdSense that you're going to make here is going to be like at least a fourth of what I just said over there, just because the ad spend in these markets is substantially less than in America. So I wouldn't recommend entirely depending on AdSense. If you are going in the direction of something like TikTok Shop, there's a lot of possibility over there as well. Again, it's really kind of region specific, but a lot of people are making some cool money there. If you build out something that's hyper specific for a certain type of client that has a very high level problem that is really just like burning and they need to solve it, in my mind, that's the best way to make money online because like you're dealing with a demographic of person who has money to spend and who doesn't really view money. Like when they buy something, they don't think to themselves, okay, like, does this have enough features? Like, or like anything like that. They really just think to themselves, okay, does this solve the problem or not? Because the main thing that these people care about is time. So if you can create something that saves a very wealthy person a lot of time and a lot of pain and potentially a lot of money, that's going to be the place where you make the most amount of money, and you make the most amount of money consistently as well.
Okay, so find something you need to resolve that a wealthy person problem and do it repetitively is the answer. Yeah, it appears like if you are a content creator that's just starting and if you want to start making money from AdSense, it doesn't cost, it will not generate you as much. That's why a lot of content creators, if I believe so, correct me if I'm wrong, that they have multiple streams of income. Like they're selling digital product, they're selling like partnerships or brand deals. They're also selling some courses, right?
Yeah, that's a good breakdown. So, in general, with my streams of revenue, one is a digital program, a monthly subscription program. One is consulting regarding social media stuff. One is my AdSense, and one is brand deals. So that's a pretty good spread in terms of how most creators make money. And yeah, I think regardless of what you're looking to do with social media, it's always good to have a diversified business model so that you're not completely dependent on one thing or another, because you'd be surprised how quickly things can go dry just like overnight. Because if the algorithm changes, which you have no control over, your business can completely go under.
So out of all the things that you mentioned, like these four streams of income, I'm curious which one is the highest driver, the biggest chunk.
Yeah, for me, that's definitely in the realm of, at least right now, consulting. It used to be digital products, but consulting is kind of the main thing that I do, and it's honestly the main thing that I like to do right now. I'm a big fan of like building out different workflows that are optimized in order to get out as much content as possible. I'm an ops guy, so as a result of that, that's just where I enjoy spending most of my time, and as a result, it's where I make most of my money at the moment.
Nice. So it's not purely like a creative, artsy, flowy kind of job. You also need to showcase your expertise in logical ways, consulting, analyzation in different aspects. So I just want to give like hope because I know most corporate people are very like on this side. So this is just like an answer or a glimpse of hope in this aspect.
Yeah, for sure. I would actually say that this industry is becoming less and less creative, and that's not honestly a bad thing. It's just like with most of my scripts at this point, like I'm creating them by doing a speech to text transcript, which I then blend with an AI prompt, and then from there I just read the prompt. I read the script that comes out as a result of that input into ChatGPT. Just because it's better organized, it can write a better hook than I can. I've written over 1,000 videos. I've gotten over 800 million views organically, and AI still writes better hooks than I can any day of the week. So I think if you're someone who's really analytic in terms of the way that you go about new projects, you literally could not be getting started at a better time, because it's just a matter of having the right workflows in place in order to make something happen. Like creativity is almost like not necessary. You don't need to be creative, and you don't even need to have good camera presence anymore.
I believe you created like a system or a business about this. Can you share it to us?
Yeah, for sure. So the thing that I'm mostly working on right now is I'm working with legacy-driven founders who are looking to build a personal brand, not for direct ROI necessarily, but because they want, again, to be able to put out so much content that they get into the rooms that they want to be in order to drive the conversation at a much higher level with like really big players. So the way that I've done that is I've basically taken my system that allows me to post 7,000 videos a year to social media in less than 2 hours of my time each week. Yeah. I've taken that system and I'm just plugging it into people's businesses. So again, it's about 7,200 videos, about 1,200 tweets, and like 365 LinkedIn posts. And all of it's done in less than 2 hours of your time.
That is so crazy. And remember, with for founders, like your hourly rate is so expensive. Like time is money for business owners. So I think that's very, very helpful. Because for me, honestly, my creative process is like 10 videos would take me at least 3 days. That includes the ideation, creative process, scripting, shooting, editing of my video editors. So I think that's a genius business idea.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll talk after this. I'm going to speed up your workflow. Yeah, no, it just again, the name of the game is volume. And the one caveat to that is once you get a really good idea of what type of content that drives the results that you're looking for, then that's the point at which you can kind of scale back on volume and then really just go all in on quality. But again, the thing that I like to say here is like, how many videos have you seen online that say, oh, you need to come up with 20 hooks for a single video so that like you can pick the one best hook, because if you don't do that, your video isn't going to go viral and you're not going to get views or whatever. Like that's just the same kind of bullshit that everyone says in videos online. But the thing to keep in mind here is that ultimately, like, you're a business owner. The people watching this are probably business owners. Like we don't have time to come up with 20 hooks for a video. We got to get a script out.
That's true.
And then move on to the next script. And then ideally get all of this done out of the way in just a few hours each week, and have the systems behind us that can support us to do that, so that we can actually focus on the other parts of the business that like require our attention. So that's kind of, why I went in this direction.
Okay, so my next question is, if YouTube will not pay you any cent, would you still do this all over again?
No, no, I'm a businessman. I'm here to make money. There's no like, I don't know. Like there was a period of time where, again, I thought anti-profit was like the Lisan Al Gaib from Dune. I have since moved on from that self-delusion. And yeah, it's just, the thing that interests me now is, social media workflows more than even the stuff that I talk about on anti-profit, if I'm being real. I think the only caveat to that is the main thing that I am really enjoying talking about and going deeper with has to do with digital sobriety, in terms of being able to disengage yourself from rage bait content online and to become like more digitally sober. That's the only thing that I like talking about at this point, just because the rest of the politics stuff, the rest of the cultural issue stuff is just, I don't know, as far as I'm concerned, just like who gives a shit. And you know, that's a privileged position to take, but it's just ultimately like, yeah, I'm a businessman.
I love the honesty because some creators were like, I didn't mean to get viral, didn't mean to make money out of it. I just have a voice and just want to say it out loud. But
Yeah, kill me. Oh my God.
I guess my next question is being in this space for like years, and you built your expertise in this niche. Is there any like loopholes, or is there any creators that's not really earning money but they're showing that they're creating money? Like what are like the unsaid secrets in content creation world?
I mean, to answer your question in terms of the influencers who are pretending to make money and not like that, like my answer to that is all of them. Like, none of these guys are making money. Like, here's the thing. Creators are some of the most infamously moronic business owners of all time. They do not know how to run a proper business on the back end. And to be fair, because business is hard and getting attention online, I'm really sorry to say, is super easy. Oh my God. It is the easiest thing to do of all time, especially if you're willing to whore yourself out to the algorithm and create really edgy content that makes a big splash and is controversial. That is the easiest, like it requires the least amount of intelligence, like in terms of like a marketing plan. You just got to be willing to basically shame yourself online to do it. And as a result of that, so many people have jumped onto this bandwagon that, again, attention online is like no longer that difficult to get because of the advent of TikTok. You can have 0 followers and still have your video blow up.
And when go full Kanye.
Yeah, exactly. Just be completely unhinged. And as a result of that, the thing to keep in mind is just because you can get attention doesn't mean that that attention will ultimately convert into something meaningful business-wise for you on the back end. You know, ultimately, I'm an entertainer at the end of the day with my brand, and trying to get people to spend money on an entertainment brand by, you know, even talking about like my solution for 7,000 videos a year. I am not the person these people go to in order to learn how to build something online. And as a result, when I talk about that online, people perceive me as a scammer, even if I genuinely have systems.
Taking it seriously.
Yeah. And why should they? Because, like, again, I'm there as an entertainer. I talk about 10, 15 different things. I'm not there to solve one problem, which again gets us back to this idea of anti-virality. If you can go in the direction of anti-virality and just be willing to eat shit for a year and just get nothing in return in terms of your views, you'll end up getting your content in front of the right, 500,000 people that you need to. And they'll come to a point where they really start to see you as the main person that they would think about doing business with. And if you solve that one burning problem for them, then you can literally make like a 7-figure business. I know so many people with 5,000 followers on Instagram with 7-figure businesses because they just go so hard on that one problem that is so high leverage. Whereas, I know plenty of creators who have 16 million followers, and whenever they go and sell like a piece of merch, they can only sell like less than 20 t-shirts with all those followers.
Oh my God. Yeah, because I think the influencer content creator space is very flashy. I know a lot of like influencers or like, these so-called CEOs online that's flashing their lifestyle. But it was exposed recently that they're just renting the cars, renting the bags that they're flashing. And some of it is like they saying that we earn this in a specific time frame, but then you would realize that the courses that they're selling is not even on the break even on the ad spend.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And like, it's not even me shitting on like lifestyle influencers that are selling the dream. That is, I mean, that's a business model that a number of people use. Like, there's this kid blowing up on YouTube by the name of Brez. His entire shtick online is just going and buying super, super fancy shit. Patek Philippe, watches, Lambos, all that stuff, because that's the thing that actually drives the sales. And this kid is making like $400K a month. But he understands that that is the marketing mechanism in order to drive those sales, because if he just focused on giving people good information, he wouldn't be able to get anywhere. But I think the deeper question here is ultimately this, is whether or not, like, culturally, and this is one of the things that I've been thinking about with when it comes to digital sobriety, is there are a lot of ways to drive like selling products, but with something like that, I don't know if it's something that necessarily enriches the culture by pushing us farther in a direction that actually, creates people who can solve some of society's most complicated problems. Because like we're at a really kind of tricky part in human history. Like, the decisions that are made as a result of AI, crypto, Web3, all of these different things are going to affect like how the world pans out for the next 1,000 years. That sounds like cringy and like very sci-fi woo-woo, but it's true. And I think, you can drive sales by being like, oh, look at my Bugatti. Do you have a Bugatti? But does that enrich the culture? Even if someone who buys your course or whatever gets the result, does that instill depth inside of a person? Does that instill wisdom inside of a person? I would argue it doesn't. And it's just, it's putting something at the top of our culture, which is ultimately just influence over everything else, above, again, wisdom, truth, any of these, things that
Yeah.
generally make a strong society.
The YouTuber kid that you mentioned, that's how Mr. Beast started. Like, he's just like giving away money and just like going bigger and bigger and flashy by like how much is he earning from the brand deals, and then he's gonna like give it away to the next content, and that's how he hooked people's attention. And I really think that we're facing a trust recession right now, that people are very becoming more skeptical in providing their details in like lead magnets that get the free PDF in exchange of your email and phone number. And they said that people consume now at least 8 hours of your content, at least in 4 different social media platforms, before they engage or buy to you.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like, people have been burned so many times online that people are just losing more and more trust. And it's not just online either. I mean, just like, look at kind of what's going on like politically. Like, people don't have trust in their governments. People don't have trust in the marketplace. People don't have trust in the economy. People don't have trust in each other. So, it's just sort of a sad state of things. I think the trust, a recession of trust is indeed correct. And I think a year ago I would have said that this is only related to the creator economy. But at this point, I would actually say that this is
Everywhere.
related to everything. We're in a trust recession globally, in all areas.
So my next question is being anonymous your ultimate freedom or your biggest trap?
That's a good question. I would have answered that very differently a year ago. Look, I think at this point, again, I'm in a place where I feel like I've outgrown anti-profit. And I think the longer that I hold on to this brand as like my only thing that I do, it is going to become more and more and more of a trap. However, anti-profit has really allowed me to like learn these systems inside and out when it comes to content creation. It's allowed me to learn how to not only be comfortable on camera, but how to communicate my ideas in a long form setting like this, in a long form video setting, which is something that I wasn't able to do when I first started this. When I first started Anti-Profit, this is the way that I would like film my shorts. I'm not kidding. I'll look into this camera for dramatic effect. Last week in Romania, Andrew Tate got arrested. Like, it was literally like, it was stuttering. I couldn't get more than 3 words out at a time. And because of just how much I've done of this over the last 2 years, I'm really good at that. And as a result of that, I'm now like emotionally ready to pivot into long form content. And the question that's kind of being posed to me right now is, do I do that in the realm of anti-profit, or do I do that in the realm of what I'm trying to do with a new personal brand? And I think, for me, maybe it'll be a mixture of both. I'm personally tired about talking about like Kanye West's anti-Semitism or what Donald Trump is doing or Andrew Tate. I'm really tired of it. And the type of audience that you attract online when you talk about that type of thing aren't, people who are really looking to like make something like real happen in their lives, in the world. And, that's me kind of trash talking. Like,
Keyboard warrior.
Exactly. Like, if you have the time to engage with this type of content online, it usually means that, I would say it usually means one of two things. Either you are someone who, genuinely tries to think through some of these larger cultural issues in a good faith way, but most of the time you just have enough time to browse social media and to leave comments, which is an indication that you're like, the fact that you're doing it on that content as opposed to content that actually drives your life forward is just an indication of like where you are. You're not in like the happiest place in life. And I say that empathetically, because when I really first started posting about this stuff, I wasn't in the happiest place in life. But now, like, I'm in a much better place. And as a result, I want to even do business with people who are just high performers and who are looking to do something deeper than, just constantly getting their hands messy with just whatever shit is happening online. So I think, to answer your question succinctly, I think it has become my potential biggest holdback. But all the way through this brand, it has been a real creative freedom that I don't think that I could have done this otherwise without.
I so love it. Like, it really shows that there's still human beside the mask. It really humanizes you with your answer, and I really appreciate that you share it to us because it really shows that even content creators, no matter how edgy your content is, there's still like heart inside you. Because I also know some content creators where they feel like they love their audience, they love their fan base, but I already outgrew it. Like, I don't want to like keep engaging on this niche anymore. They felt like kind of lost in pivoting. Like, I have one content creator friend. She have million followers, and then her brand was built because she was like in a love team with her ex, and then they broke up. So now she's like, what's next? So you really pivoting is part of being business minded.
No, I think ultimately content creators need to treat their brands like drop shippers treat products. You eat shit for a while, you don't strike gold until you do, and then you milk the shit out of that particular niche until it is bled dry, and then you move on to something else. Most content creators build out a single brand one time, and I'm guilty of this as well. And they think that it's the end all be all, and they're so terrified of like letting it go, and like it has to do with like identity and like relevance in the media ecosystem, blah blah blah. But again, I think we have a lot to learn from drop shippers who just approach selling products in the least emotional way possible, as long as whatever it is that you pivot into, you do at a higher level than I would say most drop shippers do, which is just, really delivering on value, really delivering on, keeping your word and acting with integrity with your brand, and just bringing as much excellence to the table as you possibly can.
That is why some content creators are like, I would say, monetizing even they got scammed, for example, in a different country, and they're just crying in the video. But bro, like the views of it, it's like a good hook.
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess my next question is, this goes for the ladies. Since we're talking about personal branding, and we talk about Elon Musk and these like rich and powerful men, would you say that having a relationship or like having I would say a chick beside you elevates also like the personal brand or perception? Because there was a study in business that says men who are married are more likely to get trusted in doing business with by other men than those who are single. So a woman is like a social status.
It could be. I don't know. I've never thought about that. I think ultimately, again, getting back to this demographic of working with wealthy people, the main thing that someone is going to care about is whether or not you solve your problem, whether or not you're married. And that being said, there might be some people who like to have a really good personal sense of the person that they're doing business with, which is something that's very common at like very like wealthy levels. And, that might be something that people latch onto subconsciously to make a decision about whether or not they're spending tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on this person's business. That's definitely possible. But yeah, I haven't done much thinking about that.
Because some content creators, like for example, they're trying also to be a model. I think they're gonna make more money if people or the fan base that they're trying to create would know that they're not in a relationship. Because some are like, if like some Korean idols, they're hiding their relationship because if the fan knows that they're in a relationship, it's the end of the career. Well, how would you advise on how can you separate your professional content creator, being a public figure, and your personal life relationship?
Wear a mask. Now, honestly, I don't know. That's just something that you have to kind of develop a psychological skill to be able to do. I find it very strange that these Korean women can't talk about their relationships or they'll lose their job as like a news anchor. That's crazy to me. It's just a different thing culturally, I guess. But yeah, in terms of being able to separate your personal from your professional life, like it's hard because when you become like prominent online, it really does become kind of part of your identity. And even the people who are strongest psychologically It's just impossible to completely separate it. But part of the I guess part of the fun with content creation is really kind of making sure that you keep your feet down on earth. And that you put your personal values and your personal worldview first before you put your professional values. And that's easier said than done. That's really, really difficult, and I'm still learning how to do that. So, but yeah, those poor Korean women, I can't even imagine.
We are all in progress, as I say. Thank you so much, Under Prophet, for every wisdom that you shared to us today. And it's very, very valuable. And I hope you guys learned something from like a legend like this man. So before we close this, the how can people find you? Is there anything that they need to wait? What's next for Under Prophet? And then yeah, can we invite them?
Yeah, for sure. You can always find me online at oh my God, at anti.profit, PH in profit. You can find me there on Instagram, on YouTube, and then I'm also on TikTok and Twitter and LinkedIn. In terms of what's coming next with my personal brand, I will leave that as a challenge to the audience to see if you can recognize this background and this voice in any content that you come across online with someone with a face.
That's true. You can also DM me, but I will not still say who is he.
Thank you.
That's a top secret. Thank you so much, guys. Please like and subscribe and see you in our episode 2.